Mindscreed. We're here. Oh shit, it's recording. I gotta censor myself. Well, fuck that, man. Mindscreed. We're here. That's our
intro.
Our intro. Yeah, but we need a soundtrack. Soundtrack coming soon. Okay, welcome to Mindscreed, people. Today we have a special guest, a singer, songwriter, author, businessman, my boss.
Our boss.
How does it feel having a podcast with your own boss?
It's exciting, you know, cause we talk when we're together, we talk a lot.
Yeah.
About all different types of things, man. Religion, politics, relationships and stuff. And,
Yeah.
And it's always interesting as well to talk to him. He has this perspective that's just, it's different. Let's say it's different from mine, because I'm always
that's what you want.
Full of questions in it. Yeah.
It'd be ridiculous if it's just the same. If one of you is lying, if it's just the same, one of you is just lying.
Yeah.
You're just.
Because it's having a yes man, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
For truth to be truth, yeah. For something to be truth. If you guys saw the same thing and gave exactly the same account, according to the MI6 and CIA, it's a lie.
Yeah. Okay, so just to give a little bit of a background, for the people listening. So I said there's a difference between scientific truth and religious truth in it. And you're saying for something to be true, it can't change basically. Truth is constant.
Yeah.
And with science, they're always finding out new things.
Yeah.
And then changing whatever
their truth is.
Right.
Truth is fact. Truth is white is white.
Yeah.
It can
White as
never
snow.
be purple anymore. That's what truth is, as far as I'm concerned. The word I used, which I created, is I said for truth to be truth, it cannot be untruthed. Several
You heard
times.
it here first. Untruth it.
Untruthed. And several times that happens with science. You can say that happens with some religions or in some religions, but I'm not really a fan of religion, to be quite honest.
But you're Christian, though.
Yeah. Christianity, saying I'm a Christian is actually sort of a reduction of who I am. Because
it doesn't define you.
It doesn't define me, because it was a name that was given by pagans as almost a way of insulting them. And then it was adopted by the early church. But it's definitely not a definition of a follower of Jesus Christ. A follower of Jesus Christ is someone who has walked into his or her identity as a son or a daughter of God. And that totally sheds a different light, because it puts a different relationship. It's a relationship rather than a religion.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because in your book, African Future Leaders, there's a chapter, and it's a great book. I enjoyed reading it. It's a quick read, and I understood almost everything in there.
That's really good.
Now you have a chapter on identity as well, and it's very Christian focused. It's you need to understand that God created all people equally, and when someone's reading that, they immediately think, okay, this guy is a Christian.
Yeah.
Obviously, and
there's a difference between being a son of God and being a Christian. Christianity has different shades,
denominations,
denominations.
Yo, there's over 1,000 denominations of Christianity.
There are.
Jeez.
But someone like me, I prefer to say I'm a son of God. I have a relationship. I see God as my father. Have a personal relationship, authentic relationship with Him, and apart from that, another way I look at myself, I see myself as someone who has been sent by God for a purpose. So it's almost like an ambassador. I represent a different government.
A different government.
Yeah, because the whole plan of God, even from the beginning, was to bring His kingdom to earth.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, He told Adam, dominate the earth. That word, have dominion, dominate the earth. He wanted Adam to take what he had, his presence, because Eden was never a physical location.
Yeah.
He wanted Adam to spread his presence across the world. So that kingdom, that's what we are back to now. So I'm a kingdom citizen, and I'm a son of God on a mission. I have a purpose to fulfill on this earth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because even like your definition of leadership,
Yeah.
what you write in the book, you say a leader must protect, preserve, and advance human life.
Yeah.
Sounds very God influenced.
The word is kingdom influenced, because you see, God loves people. Religion, in most aspects, have tried to present it like God doesn't really care about people. God
Only in the Old Testament, that's where they're like, oh yeah, God doesn't like, because obviously he's like a God of fury, a God of war in the Old Testament.
So, but the truth is that God loves people, and whatever you're doing as a human being that doesn't advance human life, that doesn't promote and preserve human life, it's not a real purpose. It's not a real mission, because purpose has to advance. It has to. Everything created has a reason. Even the leaf on a tree has a purpose. And the leaf on a tree, part of its responsibility is to promote, because it beautifies the tree. Is to preserve, because it acts as a rain shield. A rain shield. It stops the velocity of rain coming down to earth, and it can be used as a flood preservative. And it preserves carbon. The whole thing about carbon dioxide, and so everything, we can touch on many things in this earth, and you see that everything natural preserves, promotes, and advances. So whatever we are doing as human beings that does not promote, preserve, and advance human life is not authentic. It's not part of God's original plan for our life.
So you say to strive as nature does?
The laws of nature have no option but to obey the laws of the Creator. Now, because the chair was created by a carpenter, the best person to really tell you how a chair should function is a carpenter. So, since God has put in a system in nature that says this is what nature should do, we as human beings can learn lessons from that. It's just like in the Bible, the Bible made references to ants and said, learn to ants. They know when to sow and they know when to harvest. They leave early and they gather their food. And then, because when the winter comes, they cannot go out anymore. So if we can learn from ants, it means that we have a lot to learn from nature.
So much.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we're below them in
We are not below them.
It's almost as if.
It's because we have moved away from our original. A lot of people are living away from the original intention of God.
I thought you meant like in the way we stand out of nature, like as human beings. In an evolutionary sense, like we stand out because unlike the ants, we know about tomorrow, and we can remember yesterday.
Well, the thing is, like you can say they don't know, but I think if you really observe ants and see how they know when to save food, they know when to take food to their. So I wouldn't say they don't know, because everything on Earth has a time consciousness. Everything on Earth has a time consciousness.
You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
And the documentaries.
Exactly.
I think it's in Africa. Anywhere in the world of like animals, when it comes to a certain time, somehow they all have a sat nav.
Animals sleep. They know when to sleep. They know when to wake up. The nocturnals know when it's nighttime. Everything has a time consciousness. So they know times and seasons, because times and seasons are
oh yeah, because like they migrate with the seasons.
They're infused into nature. The only people that try to move away from the times and seasons that have been set by God are humans, and that's why a lot of us are suffering.
Because we're moving away from what God's original purpose was.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's not what he said, though. Moving away from time.
Moving away from time.
Yeah, not God's purpose.
No, but then again, it's God's purpose because it's God that put it in place.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, we could talk about anything right now. We could talk about the universe and how through time it's changed. And then you can just bring it back to like, okay, God created the universe. So obviously everything comes back to that, to God, then, innit?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if we just focus on like, actually, sorry, I'm lost. I forgot my thought. But yeah, anyways, I want to talk more about your book though, like leadership. You go, leadership is this was like a bit of a mouthful for me. Like leadership is the capacity to influence people through inspiration that is generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, birthed by conviction, and produced by a purpose. Yeah. That's like...
It's a lot of work.
Is that your own?
Huh?
Is that your own?
It was influenced. I had to make it my own in a way, but it was influenced. I have a mentor called Dr. Miles Monroe. So some of it are his words, but I've in the past couple of years adopted it and put it into practice and made it my own in a way. So yes, it has become my own.
It's yours now. Yeah.
Copyright before you read it. You probably put his reference.
I do reference.
You do reference him
quite a lot. I do quite reference him, and I do. I did mention him in my copyright and stuff. So actually, dedicated this book to him and his legacy.
His legacy?
Yeah.
What is it? What sort of person
he was just a promoter of human life. His whole aim in life was to transform followers into leaders and leaders into agents of positive change.
So, actually good. That's good. That's a positive outlook into the world that we live in. So your book about African future leaders.
Yeah.
What do you think? Does it serve Africa? Do we need it? Do we need your book?
I mean, like,
I don't know what you said. Do we need your book?
Do we need your book? Africa is in desperate need of solution.
Okay.
Desperate need of solution. But I will just put this out there. This book doesn't only serve Africans. I'm sure from reading this book, you have observed that whoever reads it and applies it to their own lives, and it's just that because of the need in Africa had to be specific
Okay.
to the Africans. I have a lot of new books that are coming out that are going to be for a broader audience, but Africa needs help.
Yeah, you do like reference, like, because you're Nigerian,
Yeah.
mostly you're comparing the issues in Nigeria,
Yeah.
and obviously some surrounding countries
Yeah.
have similar issues as well.
Yeah,
And also comparing to like the whole of Africa and to Europe,
yeah,
like European countries, how they've done it
yeah.
better. Even Asian countries, like,
Yeah, I did mention.
yeah.
So basically, you learn lessons from people around you. But I did quite make it known that the way things have sort of happened and occurred here in Europe and in Asia, it's not going to be the same way in Africa.
How's that?
Africans have to sort of chart their own course because we are different people. You cannot totally copy someone's method.
Right.
You can learn some lessons from the person's method. It's just like if you look at the some of the Asian countries, the Middle East countries that are doing very well, like Dubai, Qatar. If you look at them, you see so much originality in who they've become.
Right. Is that because they've stuck to their culture?
They've stuck to their culture. I mean, anywhere that in the world that have really done away with their culture is irrelevant today. And I'm serious. If you look
That's a big statement.
if you check China, for example, if you check China, the reason why China is very successful is because they've stuck to their culture. The only place in the world that people hate their own cultures is in Africa.
I thought he was going to say England.
Because
Fish and chips.
the English man is really proud about their culture.
No.
Generally,
Americans are proud.
Americans are also proud about their culture.
They shouldn't be about most of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whether
America's great again.
There you go. More like.
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so we need to sort of bring the good things, learn some good things from other people, but because we are a totally different people, we need to, and we are in a totally different environment, because we need to find out what it means, and I did explain it in the book, what it means for Africa
To be a successful
society.
So, go back to the culture thing.
Yeah.
What did you say again? Sorry. Can you remember?
The countries that didn't stick to their culture
Yeah.
Yeah. So could you say
became
for like
obsolete.
an
or something.
individual as well? So like for a so-called leader, if
Yeah.
they haven't stuck to their own culture, then they're irrelevant.
If you do not, this is when I talked about personal leadership.
Yeah.
You cannot provide something that is not in you to give. Because I broke down the word.
But you can't give that without culture. So you have to have culture in order to give.
So why I say that is because your identity, who you are, right? Obviously, because I think from the perspective you're talking about culture, you're talking about more or less purpose. In a way, what you're supposed to do, what you're meant to do. Am I right? If it's that, then yes, you cannot move away from your culture or your purpose to provide something that you are not. It's impossible. You will never be satisfied with that.
Isn't it like the leader's sort of forte to go against the masses and the culture and not necessarily see that as a friend, but to find his own individualistic maverick sort of approach and ideas to life?
All of us, yeah. Just like what I said earlier, that for something to be authentic, for something to be true, we look at the same thing, but just for... No, we can't really give that example. But basically, if I asked Abdul to describe this room, and I asked TK to describe this room, and I asked you to describe this room, if we were not in the same place, given the account, everybody is going to sound different and sound unique.
Yeah, of course.
Because
where does culture come into that?
It comes into that because you see what you are.
Or are you seeing what an alternated reality has been provided as what the culture is, what you're meant to be?
You see what you are. Basically, whatever I admire about you, if I look at you right now, or I've studied you, the things that you appreciate about me the most, the things that are highlighted to you the most about me, are the things that are in you that perhaps are undeveloped.
Yeah, I get that.
We see who we are in other people.
But I don't know where culture comes into it.
It comes into...
I thought you meant like when you said culture, I thought you meant like sort of like history and tradition type thing. So like if a leader does not know that's why I was hoping like
in the same perspective. Yeah, because those things, they go a long way to affect the way you look at things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they definitely they change your perceptions.
Yeah, they do. They go a long way to affect the way you look at things, and because of that, it gets infused into your total identity.
Right.
So basically, that changes the whole perspective you have of life. So, and you have to make that authentic to you for you to be successful.
As a leader, is that what you meant? As a leader, you should like have a different identity.
You're saying you have to be authentic.
You're gonna lead.
Yeah, but not with strings attached to one culture. I'm saying with like not one religion.
Yeah.
Because if I, rather than become the culture itself, if I don't do that and I become an observer and study of it, then I can become the culture of 20 different cultures. So then if I'm a leader, I know what this culture is and what that culture is, so I can change like a chameleon. I can change myself to different sort of leadership levels for this culture and that culture.
But that's I think that
I know
that would be great if that was like possible.
No,
because like I don't think like President Mugabe can come to the United Kingdoms and lead like politically. Like I don't know if like the political strategies are the same, but you have to take the culture into consideration as well. So he knows the way the culture works because he's part of that culture.
In leadership studies, there's a way to do that. For example, like there's something we call thinking hats, for example. And then one person is an optimist, pessimist, different personalities, and then you ask them for opinions. Basically, the risk in that is that in getting too much information, you can end up confusing yourself. In getting too much information, but if you know who you are, yes, you will still get informations, but things sort of just confirm what you're meant to do. You know, like when people, I've met so-called people that say they are prophets and they are this and they can see the future and you know, and someone like
did you question them? Did you like, okay, what am I going to do?
No, I don't have to question. I don't have to question the person. But when I meet someone like that, who has such a gift or claim to have such a gift, you're only right if you tell me what I already know.
It's true. Wait, what?
It's true. You're only right.
He's only right if he tells you what you already know.
What I already know.
Yeah, but if you already know something, that doesn't mean
that's specific. Yeah. That's specific to me anyway, because of what I already know my cause. I already know where I'm going to. I've sat down and thought about what my purpose is. I've sat down and discovered it over time. I've sat down and so if someone comes and tells me, oh, you're gonna be this or do that, if it's not part of the plan, I'm going to tell you you're lying.
Okay.
It goes against your own truth.
Yeah. You're lying. And I maintain that my identity. So that's the reason why for me now, I can read any book that I choose to read. I can listen. I can sit down with anyone that has an opinion. I can listen to what they're saying, but what I'll be listening out for is parts of reality that relates to me, not generally what they're saying.
But is that really listening then?
No,
that's selective listening.
You're listening, but then again, when you listen to something, what happens is that what you're meant to do is you're meant to take it up in a basket and then sieve to find out the authentic stuff, the truth in that, because opinions are not always they're not always gonna lead you to the right. Everybody is gonna have an opinion, but when you listen to people, collect it, but have like a sieve. Let the bag that you're collecting let it have some holes that you can shake.
Yeah, you can't take in everything. You have to filter some stuff out, of course. But
you have to try. What I do though, instead of listening to the things the individual says that resonates with me, like you said before, I already know it. I know it. So I'm not going to listen to that bit. I'm going to listen to the parts that don't really necessarily make me excited. So I think that's the kind of shit I need to be sieving out. So then I can find the resonance within those parts as well. That's what I have to say.
They are true. Yeah. And one more question. It does not relate to does it relate to culture, like your first question?
Which one?
Oh, I think we're past culture.
It relates to culture. Because then, in the same way, like what we were saying, if you, like what we were talking about, it relates to culture because then again, if we get things from Europe, we get things from Asia, we get things from South America, we get things from North America, as Africans, it's now our duty to sieve it and find out the truth, the realities that belong to us.
Okay.
Because, for example, like there are different natural resources in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So if we want to grow in the same way that Asia has grown, we might not be successful at doing that because we might have famine as our main resource.
But we do have a lot of natural.
No, I'm not using that as a direct example. I'm just trying to give you perspective on what I'm saying.
My question, Tawonga read your book.
I read the book. I read it like twice. I've made notes as well.
Alright, stop kissing her. We know he's your boss.
He's gonna pay me. Sorry, go on, Abdul.
You mentioned something I've spoken about this with so many people. You said in your book, African people need to protect the image of Africa.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You see, okay, let me give you an instance. People hear bonjour, ça va bien, merci, et vous, quel âge as-tu?
Sorry, can you speak up? I don't think the camera can.
So people hear things like, mon ami, ça va bien, and people say, oh, it's so sexy. It's a language of love. And then you hear someone like me that speaks like a true African, and you say,
I beg your pardon.
You understand me? And you say I sound like a bush person. Like there are a lot of people like that. So we have to look. We live in England. We know like Indian people and Asian people that have lived there for 30 years, and they still talk like they still talk like themselves, and they have the same mannerisms, and they protected their culture. It's cool for them. I was with an Indian friend the other day, and this guy is very much English in the way I look at him. But
in the way he sounds.
In the way he sounds and the way he does things. But I had the privilege to go into his car with him, and so the songs he was playing was the same like songs that you would hear in any Indian society.
Right.
So, but in Africa or within African cultures, like people have sort of moved away so far from their true identity, from who they are, from the true image. If somebody's like, for example, I gave an instance in my book that I wore like African clothing, African print to a library, and the looks I got from sadly most of our African friends, our counterparts and colleagues,
were they like saying
it was very insulting.
Did they actually insult you? Like Jungle Book looking at us?
Yeah. You can tell.
Yeah.
You see, like, and it was looked at as so uncool. Whereas, like, we had Asians that wore their hijab and their whole entire clothing and that was seen as cool.
All right.
When you see an Arab guy that has the white flowy dress, and you look at him and say, "Oh wow, he must have money."
Yalla Habibi.
You say like that's a rich guy. But so why can't our own personnel, why can't our own things be cool like that? And that's the same reason in Africa, whereby things that are made, for example, in your country now, in Zambia, if something is made in Zambia, they look at it as low quality, whereas they will be saying, "Oh, this rice is imported, cassava." In Nigeria, we are now importing cassava from India. Is that
India?
Is that not stupidity?
Cassava from India.
I don't live in Nigeria, so I can't exactly judge. But
Yes.
one thing I do know is, I agree with what you say, but I've had a different
Experience.
experience.
Do you talk? Sorry.
But
Sorry. Go on.
yeah, I thought you were gonna say something.
I was by that.
Yeah, I've had a different experience. I mean, I remember once at an exam, and I came in wearing African clothing because I had a wedding afterwards. The exam priorities, isn't it? Wedding first, exam next.
There's food at the wedding. There's no food at exams.
So I went to my exam wearing I got the hat, the Yoruba hat on, the Yoruba clothes on, Yoruba everything on. I walked into the exam hall. Everyone's looking at me. I'm like, "What's up?" Everyone's loving it. People are pointing at me. People are giving me high five. Well, this is a different setting anyway, so different place, different location. I think it depends on the location of where you are, but I don't understand what you mean. That in some parts of Africa, the imported things and imported stuff are seen as an high regard than things that.
Let's just be truthful. I said the worst thing someone can do to themselves is lie to themselves.
Why are you lying to yourself?
Almost.
Right, yeah, lie. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. As in, okay, yeah, going back to the accent thing, like, oh yeah, you know, a Spanish accent is seen as a sexy accent.
Yeah.
To be honest, I prefer African over Spanish. Sorry, carry on.
Represent, yeah. But you know, like that's the example he gave in the book, you know. And I remember like the first day of school, my accent was taken fun of because I still had like a like I still had like a strong Zambian accent.
It's your fault.
Yeah, so like it's just because it's different, innit? So because it's different, obviously people are gonna react that way to it, innit?
Really? Today?
Yeah.
How did they react to Italian accent? How did they react?
Again, so it's back to the image you said.
Did the Indian Asian kids in school change?
Nah, they have like a strong accent, you know, like.
So but, yeah. it's still back to us, because these other people have protected. They've represented their societies and presented the good about their societies, and we haven't.
But why do you think that is? Or why do you think like Africans tend to gravitate towards like Western stuff? Is that like it's gonna advance them more?
No. I talked about it in the book. Also.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah. But I want you to say it for the podcast.
Yeah, it's had a lot to do with the colonialism, and the slave trade and stuff like that. That whole thing, that whole scenario, they had to sort of brand. You know how you brand a product?
Yeah.
You know, they had to brand Africans. And some of us, do you know why a lot of Africans think it's really nice to be light-skinned? Because they were of a higher, light-skinned people in the past were of a higher price. And it's just, we were branded.
Oh, yeah.
We were branded.
There was like house niggas and then there's field niggas.
We were branded like that. And then basically, whatever that was associated to Western people was, I mean, they were selling people for sugar.
We should laugh, serious.
That's true. Yeah.
They were selling people for sugar.
That's the thing, like,
and alcohol. Just because even right now,
It's still going on.
go back to Nigeria or go back to your country, wherever you're from, and go to the local supermarket and buy stuff for people. When you, let's say you were coming back from the UK, people would be like, they would prefer something you bought from the market here than something you bought from a supermarket in Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the first one you bought from the supermarket and you bought from the market?
No. Let's say you went to the market. You know how they have markets here.
Yeah.
So it's just because it's from
Just
Africa.
because it's Western.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah. It's not from local thing.
And it's just stupidity. Whereas if you.
But what about mix? I just bought an avocado.
But before
Oh shit!
you in buying avocado, if you look at the whole English culture, the English culture is very let's patronize British farmers. Let's use Land Rovers. Let's use British made stuff. The British brand is really portrayed. Is protected. It's really protected. Whole thing is protected. Like if you remember, there was when there was a terrorist attack in Manchester. God bless their soul. And America released the scene where it happened, and really it caused a whole diplomatic row. Whereas in Africa, if something happened, they are there right there showing the body parts, showing the. Why?
In other news,
it's because we as Africans. Do you know what they show when something like that happens in the UK and in some Western countries? They show where the flowers. Yeah, have you observed? Yeah. They show the flowers and they show where people are holding hands, where people are united. That's because they are protecting the brand of, and because your attention has been shifted intentionally.
Yeah, and in your book you do say that this is a better use of media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we have to, the media, like enough. You see a lot of African. Nigeria is insulting Ghana. Ghana is Gambia is insulting this. It's not. How many times have you heard like English insulting France and
a lot of times.
No. You can claim that you. How many times have you seen a Twitter fight about that?
A Twitter fight.
Come on, tell yourself the truth.
Let me stop you there. Zambia is
happens.
like the most peaceful country in Africa. Okay, it's like top 10 peaceful country in Africa. Where until recently, like there's some shit going on now, like the arsonists burning down the supermarkets.
We are not talking about peacefulness. We are talking about
pettiness.
No, it's not just about peacefulness. We are also talking about because you can be peacefully stupid. You can be peaceful. Of course. Look, you can be sincerely stupid. You can be sincerely misled.
Yes, true. It's true. It is true. Yeah.
Someone can sincerely lead you to the fire.
But
I think that's what like the whites did back in the day. I don't know who it is, American or British or something like that. If Africa was a tree, that it was so destructive, it was just cutting at the roots of it. And if you see the whole of like Africa as that tree, it's then because no tree is more foolish. No tree is foolish enough for the branches to fight amongst themselves. I never worded that right, but that's what's now happening because of the damage Africa has took. And I believe probably it took that damage because Africa is the motherland. It all started there, and I think they kind of knew that, and they thought, we're scared. So
yeah.
Right. So they removed the roots of the tree then?
I guess so. Africa probably had more culture in that than in
any other place in the world. It still does have more culture than any other place in the world.
History.
But the thing is this: Africans themselves are now the people fighting that same culture. They are now the people fighting that same identity because those things are still there. Because you can try and remove the pig from dirt. Yeah, you can try and remove a pig from dirt, but the pig will still see dirt and run back to it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that is it to do with our history? Like,
it's inbuilt. What I mean by that is that it's inbuilt in us to have those cultures. Even though that the whole like colonialism has tried to like has affected it, has chopped it off, has made us feel like it's bad to be who we are.
Yeah,
it's still there. But the thing is this: if we do not protect it, especially in this our generation, the next generation it will be finished. There will be nothing like the world. There will be no difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you'd be able to do it though, because to me, like the youths and everything, I think they shy away from that sort of thing because they feel like it's old and it's uncool and it's a stigma. Is that the right word? So you have to
So
they want to completely disconnect themselves from that, no matter what internationality.
That's why I was asking. Like, do you think that's to do with like their history as well? I was like reading this quote by Nietzsche. It says that direct self-observation is not nearly sufficient for us to know ourselves. We need history for the past flows on within us in 100 waves. So because like most Africans really don't know their history.
Exactly. I said in the book that most Africans can tell the history of Britain and America better than they can tell their own history.
Yeah.
So we have to study our history. When we study history,
but it's pretty hard to study it when it's been robbed and stolen and
destroyed.
But it can still be. It can still be found, but it just takes searching. And they haven't searched it. The problem is that the education system is busy still teaching them about how Germans conquered. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid that in my school back then in Africa, if you spoke in my local language, you got flogged.
You get fined as well. When I was at school in Nigeria, you get fined if you spoke your local language in school.
So they force you to speak English?
In secondary school. So you're forced to speak English.
But do you understand? So it's just, they've stolen the whole entire identity, and those things we have to fight to get them back.
Because they're part of who you are.
And the most painful thing that I think is really happening, especially in Nigeria, is you have Nigerians living in Nigeria that do not know their own local language.
A lot of them. This is not. We're talking about millions of people. Millions of people.
And it is not their fault per se. It is
the education system.
It's not. It's the education system as well.
Part of it, but it's just the whole entire. All of them have access to MTV. all of them have access to MTV, OTV, so they all want to be like Kanye West. And if you hear the way they speak these days, almost every Nigerian reporter sounds either American or British. It's just so stupid.
But they feel they need to like put on that.
That's so stupid.
I would admit, like, if I get a call and someone wants to like interview me, I'll be like, "Hello, sir. I'm right here. I appreciate this opportunity you've provided."
Well, I understand you doing that in a Western country, but when you're back in your African country, it should just be like, it should be frowned upon.
For me, there's no need for you to do that. Because as far as I'm concerned, because at the end of the day, if you get through and you get through the interview, you cannot deceive people. They are still going to see who you are. So why not present who you are, black and white? The only thing I say is this: just make sure you can communicate and be heard. As long as you can communicate and be understood and be heard. I have an African accent, but have you struggled, Billy?
Yeah, I can't even understand. I haven't understood anything you've said so far.
It's been nodding there,
Subtitles. And in the subtitles, he reads.
You're fine, no? It's Abdul. Sometimes Abdul just like
Abdul mumbles.
He doesn't open his mouth when he's talking.
I am here, by the way. Subtitles goes, I am here, by the way.
Like what I'm saying is this: you can understand me.
Yeah, definitely.
I still have my African accent. and it's perfectly fine. So as long as you make sure you can communicate and be heard, that's what matters.
Yeah, it's really important to know how to write and communicate and speak properly as well.
Yeah.
Not just like
Listen as well.
Mhm.
Listen is really big.
Yeah.
To really listen with your whole body, your eyes, everything, innit?
Someone always said that you were given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
My nan will tell me that. She'd say as well, opinions are like noses, everyone's got one. That's the kind one. The X-rated is like opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. She'd always tell me that one.
Everyone's an asshole. Everyone's an asshole.
Billy, everyone's an asshole. But yeah.
Talking about more about Africa, you know, when it comes to teaching African history, I've actually tried to learn African history. What I learned, anyone would learn, it's all about the wars, the devastation,
Is this
colonialism.
here as well?
Yeah, mostly, because I haven't gone anywhere else.
Sorry,
It's all about colonialism,
slavery,
the war. Is it the Biafran War,
Do you think
the
like,
slavery?
like Jews as well?
What?
I've been seeing a lot lately on that. Martin said something about it before.
about Jews.
Yeah, like from Africa though.
African
Yeah,
Jews.
that's the Igbo people.
There's meant to be like some tribes, 13 tribes or something. These guys like going out in the street protesting and saying like the identity back to that, like saying you don't know your identity. We are the true black Jews. And the
I saw a video.
Yeah, Ethiopian people and there's some. But going back to what you said,
About history.
Yeah.
Here, like learning history.
I would say, for example, how many times have you actually picked up books that's unread on Africa?
Not a lot, because not a lot of it.
There are loads. What I mean by that is that sometimes you think that something is not around until you actually go and search. Because, for example, when I was doing research when I was writing this book, there were a lot of things I came across that I did not know. Do you understand? So when you go in search of something, at some point you start saying, but you have to take that leap, to see beyond.
Self-education as well.
Self-education is the most important. Look, school teaches you maybe
nothing.
1% of what you want to learn.
Yeah.
Self-education is more important.
It's education of the heart then, isn't it? Because if it's none of it, then it is no education at all. It's from Aristotle. Just had to say that. Can't be like saying
you have to quote.
That's another thing. Like, well, before I get to that, another quote. Aristotle. That's all good and shit. But you go. We must teach and value understanding more than we value information and certification. Yeah. But you need the certification for you to like to do something, to be qualified at something. You need certification.
Okay, let's just, for example, let's just go with Richard Branson. I went on his education page on
internet,
on LinkedIn. Nothing was there, but yet he is one of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. Let's Bill Gates. It's just of recent that he just took an honorary degree from Harvard.
You're a dickhead.
No, he took.
Yes, man.
He just took an.
But you got time.
He took an honorary degree. Let's look at Mother Teresa. No degree. Let's look at what's his name? Apple guy.
Steve Jobs.
No degree. Like look.
Bruce Lee, no degree.
It's not about these people self-educated themselves. You do not need those certifications to prove that you.
I'd agree with him as well. Agree.
Well, I would disagree with both of you.
Yeah, well, I agree.
No, listen. Okay, I understand. Yeah, you don't need certification to
prove that you're learning.
Not even to prove, to be great, to be one who's successful. But if you're gonna pursue, say, a career in teaching, you're gonna need a teaching degree. You can't teach if you want to teach in a school. You have to like
with like YouTube now.
Can I
things are changing so much.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something? I've met a lot of law law lecturers that have never stood in court for one day or never done. I've met a lot of business teachers that
How are they law lecturers?
business lecturers that have never actually owned any business.
part of the game.
It's just stupidity. You cannot teach something you are not.
And what's stupid is the person who paid 50 quid sitting there listening to the guy.
More like 15,000.
Taking off. Oh,
More like 15,000.
That's per person.
Of course, it's
Ridiculous.
no 15,000. Education these days. I mean, you're starting uni soon.
Starting uni,
a
master's degree.
A lot of money.
£6,000. But obviously, this is what I mean though. Like for me to pursue a career in psychology,
Yeah.
I need certificates. I need to be accredited by
See,
certain bodies. So there's a system in place that I need to go
if you
through.
remember this guy, the guy
If you
that
choose.
the guy that helped.
Yeah, but I want that, that
You have no
stable
choice.
foundation. I don't have like.
There was the guy that helped. He was sort of a psychologist. He helped.
Oh yeah, so over psychologist.
Have you watched the King's Speech?
No.
Is
No.
it? Yeah, have you seen
Meant to
the
be
King's
good,
Speech?
though, isn't it?
If you've seen it, like some people, look,
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. God.
some people actually just out of study and in-depth study. Because do you know what you go to school to do?
To learn for your future.
Let me just announce to you: you go to school for them to give you, prompt you to learn.
Prompt you to learn.
At the end of the day, you are still the one that's gonna read the books. So why can't you just pick up the books and read?
Or if they're not available to you, that's probably one of the problems.
How is the books not available to you? They are online.
I'm sorry, I'm still with him.
You're still gonna go online. When you get to university, you're still gonna be Googling. You're still gonna be going on Amazon to buy books.
I might too go.
Look, there are books on
Google Scholar.
There are books on Google. There are several libraries that are open. Do you even know that there are some courses you can do free of charge, open source?
Yeah.
Nope. You don't know because you haven't gone inside.
Courses and lectures on Audible as well.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. So all these things are just.
it is the culture's
You see,
way of doing it,
the
though.
school system is
It's
one of the
culture
biggest
again.
scams
Yeah, of course it is.
ever.
It's expensive. I will agree with you.
No,
with
it's
that
one of the
yeah.
biggest scams. No, think about it. You're just going to school to be prompted to read. I'm not saying certification is bad. I still want to get the certificates because what it gives you is some sort of
solid foundation.
No. It's just authenticity. People sort of can trust you, but it doesn't mean that. Look, if you say that school has helped everyone, why isn't everybody that went to school successful?
Because it ain't really there like to build successful people. It's there to like build robots.
Mm-hmm. And people are different. Some people are.
I'll propose one thing. Sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry,
I would rather go to someone who went to. If I'm sick, I would rather go to a doctor that went to school than a doctor that teaches himself. You know what I mean?
Trust me, I'm a doctor. I read it online. Is this the old library?
What I'm saying is,
So you know what I
What
mean?
invented us?
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm saying that.
you would rather, but what I'm saying to you is this. You can stay here. I can stay in this house and I can find a curriculum that you guys would study in school and I can study exactly the same thing.
Yeah, you can. And I agree with you. You can, and you can learn even more than what I've gone to the school. But it's just that the system has been in place that where we, the population, we would trust somebody. I see a certificate as I walk in.
Yeah.
If I walk into your theater or to your practice, and you told me, "Don't worry, my G, lie here." I taught myself.
And you see no certificates on the wall. Like your
No.
At the end of the day, results speak. Whoever produce, we all use apples.
His work
today.
is going to speak for himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if he presents himself like that, then what is he doing?
Yeah.
Of course. But easily, I could just like go rip some because so many people are gullible. The majority are so gullible. I could just go online, print off my degree,
Exactly.
bam on the wall. Yeah, I'm done.
You can
That's why I've got 3 PhDs.
Yeah, you can actually pay for this title. That's the thing.
For the titles.
Yeah, you don't have to go anywhere.
So I can be Dr. Tawonga right now.
Yeah, you can.
Without going to medical school.
Never. Because a doctor can be given to any profession. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
The only like other system I was thinking of instead of going to like uni was what like Ralph Smart done, but I think he did go to uni. But just in case he didn't go to uni, just like going on YouTube and doing all of those videos and that, getting like a following of like 1 million or something. Then that's,
wait, he didn't go to uni?
I think he did.
Maybe
see, for example, like it's not about going to uni or not going to uni. It's about making yourself a solution. Look, solutions speak. You can go to, no matter. Look, if a child has the cure for cancer, everybody will run to the child.
Yes. Where is this child?
If the cure of AIDS was found from in an African herbalist who does not know how to speak English, they will look for interpreters and go to him.
What if he's part of that local language where they let him speak his own language in school and now he doesn't know how to speak another language?
Yeah, like what I mean is in terms of like whatever, if you have the solution, people are going to come to you no matter what.
Yeah.
If you have the solution.
So where's the solution in regaining?
It's within.
Regaining
within yourself.
The lost glory of Africa.
Within Africans, like Billy said. It's within ourselves as individuals, because we are Africans. Only us.
So we have to find the African solution to African problems.
Yeah.
Is yourself.
Well,
just your individual self.
I think the damage has gone too far.
It's not.
I think there's still potential for us to come back.
No, there isn't.
Definitely potential. I mean,
no, you're telling.
I don't think it's gonna take longer, but I think if we seek outside help as well, like with China as well. China.
It's not about outside help. If we go within, like he said, the solution is within.
Yeah, but going within isn't gonna fix the holes in the roads in most
no.
First of all,
just imagine 1 million people going within.
No, the solution is within. Look, you see the railway systems and the railways in Africa. Most of them that were built during the colonial period, they say yes. They say, it was built by the colonial people. But it wasn't really. No, it was built by Africans.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of the big, governments in the world and big companies in the world have Africans in their very senior positions. So definitely it's in us to provide solutions to all these things. It's just us being brave enough and being willing to actually become solutions and actually doing something about the situation. That's just what will make the difference.
Yes, but I think the damage has gotten too far because we've got obstacles to cover.
See, look,
we have to bring our African people back to...
Listen.
You want to bring every African person back to Africa.
As long as there is life, there is hope.
Yeah.
You concluded that statement for me, and because there is still time, it means that something can still be done.
I understand where you're coming from. My point is, the reason why I think the damage has gotten too far is because when you look at the economic status in countries, like in developing countries, as you term it, our leaders in these countries have gotten this dissociation from them and the majority of the public. And now you have a public that's losing its culture towards a more westernized culture, like you say. They're trying to be more Western so they can not be left behind by the new world.
Yeah.
Because no one is paying attention to the culture anymore. No one's coming in from thinking, that's cool, that's a nice place. This is a nice thing. Well, I want to say, that's a nice place, that's a nice things. but no one's paying attention to the culture anymore. So they're pushing their children and their people into a more Western culture. That's why the children are leaving the farms. They're leaving the rural area. They're going out of the place. They're going out of their own country. Our leaders are totally not for us anymore.
Yeah.
They're literally on there's a dissociation. The only thing
they're
they
not
know
leaders. Don't call them leaders.
Okay, our so-called leaders. They're not our overlords. They've been placed there by our colonial masters so they can profit from them. So they can use them to give our colonial masters resources, money, so they can use. Okay. It's gotten to the point we have a population that's moving towards a Western ideology. That's leaving the culture behind. They're leaving their traditions behind because they want their children to survive. They want their children to eat because no one's paying more attention to the culture. Our so-called leaders, instead of, like you say in Britain, protecting our culture, protecting our brand, they're not. Instead, they're using our brand and our thing to make money for themselves and for our colonial masters, who pretty much they still haven't gone yet.
Should I tell you something?
Yeah, because they're 80 years old, 90 years old, they're still in power.
Should I tell you something? Martin Luther King said something. He said that one of the biggest atrocities that has happened is that righteous men, good men, have done nothing. They left powers to people that are not qualified, people that are evil. So the whole thing about African future leaders, or about leadership, is what Michael Jackson said. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look. Take a look at yourself and make a change. Who is the man in the mirror?
Yeah, in the mirror.
That's the whole thing about leadership. That's the whole thing about leadership. Leadership is about you saying, what can I do to help? What can you do to help? That's what matters. So it's not about saying, oh, this person has done this, this person has done this. And because that's the excuse a lot of Africans have been making about even colonialism. And now it's happened about 60 years ago, 50 years ago. And still people are saying it's the fault of the... Are you stupid?
People in general, they're always saying that it's someone else's fault.
It's just
playing the victim role.
But you know, when you're pointing at someone, when you point your finger at someone...
4 fingers are pointing back at you.
I don't know how many fingers you got, but... I got 3.
One phone.
But yeah, they're pointing back at you and they are, and it's true. But like how you said before about the good people, they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Like if then, say like if I'm speaking about the African people now, and any people, Americans with Donald Trump and with all that sort of stuff, then if we are that people, if we're not that good people, then what are we? Like, because if we wanted to change, wouldn't we just all come together and actually make the change instead of moaning about it?
Yeah.
So why aren't we doing that? Because come on, how many people are in Africa compared to the so-called leaders?
Yes.
But you got to do it with soul force. It doesn't. I don't believe it. I believe it has to not be violent.
Obviously, violence is not part of it.
Always turns violence.
It's inevitable.
No.
Even
Violence
now,
is not part
it's happening right now. Even now, like Kenya's going through
violence is
next
not part
thing
of it
because of the
election.
The elections, isn't it?
Zimbabwe.
Violence is not part of it.
It's not. It shouldn't be part of it, but
It's not.
But it is.
It's not part of it.
Somebody told me, I was in a meeting.
Making a
were in a meeting.
Making a change is individual.
Yeah.
Yes. What do you say?
I mean, for example, let me give you an example. I wrote a book that
African future leaders
that can potentially shift the mindset of 1 or 2 Africans.
Hopefully,
That's change.
even one.
Yes.
Even one.
That's change. That's change. So if you get your own message out there, if you have a message, that's the first thing. If you have a message and you get your message out there, and we each do our own bit. Look, I always say this. Even in the book I touched on. I've been on I was in a farm one day, We went on an excursion. And I think I had a sweet, and I chucked the rubbish on the floor.
Come on, man. Get recycled.
On the farm.
On the farm, okay.
My friend, one of my best friends, Tom, a British guy, called me and said, "Look, animals can choke up on this. It doesn't like disintegrate. It's not good for this. So pick it up and throw it in the bin." That's what leadership is. Doing even the little thing that you can to make that small difference.
I think the most powerful messages, though, are ones you aren't able to speak of. Because sometimes when you speak, it gets lost in translation. But with the action, so like with him, instead of him actually saying anything at all, but maybe him just taking that wrapper and putting it in the bin could have had an equal reaction, if not more impactful.
Yeah, leadership must be done by example, like you said.
Yeah,
it's true.
But when you said violence, we were in a meeting. You went to this election. Was this guy?
Jack Domi. This was during the elections. Yeah.
We sat down, we talked to a bunch of Nigerians. They were really political Nigerians. One of them said, violence is important because the tree of liberty is only nourished by the blood of the freedom fighters or something like that.
Just stupidity.
But that's what these so-called people that are in charge of our countries, and this is what they know.
It's just stupid.
We cannot go into the ballot box and then choose to vote. You see what happens when we do that.
No.
Riots.
Have you ever?
People get killed.
No, you can vote. Nobody's stopping.
We can safely vote here. We can safely vote here.
But
I went to the voting poll with my mom, my sisters, all set. The sun was shining. It was great.
Let me tell you.
Do that in Kenya.
Let me tell you.
Do that in Zimbabwe.
Let me tell you the difference, though. Leadership is not it's not politics. Politics is one of the least forms of leadership. Leadership is in doing whatever you do and doing it well. Some of the greatest leaders we've had in the world were not politicians. It's making a difference in your own little way, in your own area of purpose. That's when leadership is completed. If you remember my definition of leadership capacity to influence people through inspiration that is generated by a passion, motivated by a vision, but by a conviction, and produced by purpose. It means that you cannot be a leader if you are not working in your own area of purpose, and no two things are the same.
Would you agree with me saying leaders act rather than talk? They act more over talk.
Yeah.
And the majority of us talk.
Yeah. And do nothing.
And follow.
And do nothing.
That's how we've been brought up, innit?
So not everyone can be a leader then?
That's what I was thinking.
Everybody has the potential to be a leader. The leadership potential is in every single person.
Of course they have the potential.
But
the potential is always there. It's just like people have roles to play.
Yeah.
Well, do you think that's some born though? It's not literally just born out leaders.
No one's born a leader unless you're
Everybody.
Everybody
is born a leader. Everybody is born a leader. Leadership is not over people.
But I would go back to
leadership is not over people.
I would go back to the violence bit. I mean, if you look at the past,
well, we're talking about violence.
You like talking about violence?
Talk about peace.
I'm being
aggression.
I'm being
talk about peace.
I want to talk about peace, but we want change in Africa. We want our
Nelson Mandela was not violent, and that's why he was one of the greatest leaders in the world.
He was not violent,
and that's why he was one of the greatest.
But what happened to his government?
Gandhi was not violent, and he
was a prick, man. He wouldn't let his wife get treated. But when it came to him, he took that medicine. No second thought.
But he was
worse, man.
We're talking about the violence part.
Yeah. I was reading a bunch of laws, like that's a law degree thing, and they're talking about the French Revolution, how the French Revolution gave way to new laws, so like secularism, man rights, human rights, women's rights, things like that. This was back in the French Revolution. This was ages ago. But we all know with the French Revolution, it was more than once, and there were loads of death. It was violent, but it brought about something. It brought about change. It brought about Napoleon as well. But, side note. Obviously,
it doesn't have to be like that.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't have to be like that. But that's the thing. The people that we are fighting are not.
We're not
peaceful leaders. You can't bring a book to a gunfight. The AK-47 does not see peace. It sees ta 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 ta. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
It makes sense. So we can gather up, write a referendum, write as many peace quotes as we like, go to our parliament and talk to them. Be like, all right, listen, this is our people. This is 1 million people. We've written these laws. What do you think they would do?
Nobody can lead if they don't have people to lead.
Yeah, but what do you think the people in charge would do?
But what I'm just the question. Nobody can lead if they don't have people to lead.
So what's the peaceful solution to this problem then? To the problem of like removing the leaders that are currently in control right now, in order to make the change that Abdul just
you
talked
becoming
about.
a leader.
So it starts. So something. So like Billy said as well. Like it starts from within.
Yeah.
So
it's
if
individual.
you start with yourself, so change yourself first. Become a good citizen.
Not necessarily. I'm not talking about citizen. Become a good leader. Become a leader individually. Find out whatever you were born to do. Find it out and do it so well.
Your purpose.
Yeah. Because leadership is over an area of purpose.
I thought you were going to say an area of gifting. And
it's an area of gifting, but that's why I meant it's the same thing. It's around an area of purpose.
Our overlords.
What?
Overlords. The government.
Overlords. What's that?
Like the government.
That's why it doesn't work. That's why it doesn't work.
So, what would
because leadership is supposed to be about inspiration. You have to inspire me to follow you. You have to inspire me to listen to you. So you can't be an overlord and doing overlord just simply means you're higher. No, everybody on earth is equal. So that doesn't exist. People that think it exists are getting. If you watch any establishment that has hierarchy, it always tends to fall. And if you see like companies that are, every company is becoming agile, every company is becoming, they're coming into a lean management system whereby the office to the boss now in this day and age is no longer secluded in somewhere. It's now an open floor kind of thing because people have seen the need to be amongst the people.
And that's only in certain areas though. So if we bring it back to
any area that hasn't done that would still fail. It's just a matter of time.
Okay. you want change in Nigeria, right?
Yeah.
How would you go about making change? I mean, how would you go about putting the government in charge now to make change?
I'm not putting any government in charge. What I would do is what I'm doing now. For example, I'm speaking to some Africans. I'm speaking to young people my age, because people are always going to be the agents of change.
Yes.
So I've written a book. I'm gonna write
African Future Leaders. Link in the description.
Yeah. I mean, apart from that, like there are lots of things. I'm putting out messages. As obviously, I've worked with you guys before.
Yeah.
I walk my talk.
You do.
You
He
know,
works a lot.
I say what I you know.
You work hard.
He works hard, and Abdul is lazy.
I'm a lazy motherfucker.
He's on the other hand, employee of the week.
I take naps and breaks.
I don't take that.
Mister, I do not take naps. I start my day early. Drunk text, Jay.
So
Wait, is that where you've been doing the art?
Yeah.
The art on your Instagram.
Yeah.
So you're at work uploading art.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you. The crazy thing is, when I'm at work, I've got so much free time. And I'm like, which one?
which work is the
I should be saying
Choose
this
your words
front.
wisely. The boss asked you a question. Which work is
Oh
this?
yeah. Which work is this?
Not your work, obviously. Not the
I
one
hope
you give
so.
me. It's not. It is not.
Of course it isn't.
It is not.
I hope so.
So I just want a little bit of a smile, a bit of like
I was the same.
into the things. Like I don't. If people walk past it, they say, "Yeah, that's cool," and then so.
My boss would, when I was working as a labourer, he'd always just shake his head at me. We'd be like on the top of a scaffold doing a painting on some house.
Yeah.
And I'd do like you know the racing stripes, the black and white squares.
Yeah.
I'd be painting that on the top of the house and stuff, and he'd look at me like. He'd just walk off somewhere else, but I'm still painting.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it in a pattern first.
True.
Those good times.
It's good. The art brings people together. It questions us, but
Yeah, art does bring people together. And art's like valuable and important to culture as well.
Music as well.
It is.
True. Okay, so I read your book like 3-4 times.
we keep increasing it. I read it once, twice.
But how come you don't have like a reference section? Because like you're talking about all this stuff and like I want to know where you got it from.
Okay. Why I didn't have a reference section is I didn't want to make it very academic. I wanted it to be open to everybody. But obviously, like there are some things. A lot of things I did reference. I referenced it directly.
Yeah, during
the so I didn't want the book to be academic. That's not the focus. It's something that everybody can pick up and read and just get valuable information in it.
All the listeners are going to be hearing now his pages turning.
Well, I really want to touch on the
violence.
Not on the violence bit.
Touch on what?
I want to touch on the changing of.
So the practicality
Yeah,
of it.
but I want to touch on the changing of my country, Nigeria.
Yeah.
I want to, because obviously Nigeria is not a shithole.
I was gonna say, what'd you say about your own country?
Well, it's the majority of the population are not exactly living nice and well and cool, but the middle class is shrinking.
Nigeria
and the lower class is
let me just tell you the truth. Yes, you said you sleep at work, and then you take naps at work, and you take long breaks, and you don't do. How can Nigeria change when you maintain that attitude? So the change starts from you. The change starts from you becoming serious.
I'm a bad person.
Yeah, the change starts from you becoming individually like sound and individually purposeful and becoming a leader. And taking responsibility.
In Japan, if you're sleeping at work, they think it's an actual good thing. In Japan, sleeping at work is encouraged.
They didn't build their country sleeping at work.
They have like. I know, because even like a lot of Japanese companies have like a napping pod.
They are sleeping there now. That's only in the past.
Like these napping pods.
That's
you
in the
can go
past.
during your break and you can just take a nap.
That's in the past how many years? Because Japan is 10 years ahead of a lot of
they
Western
do it in school
countries.
as well. Don't
Yeah.
they let the kids sleep for a while. On the
Japan is 10 years ahead of a lot of countries in terms of technology. So they can afford to. They were not sleeping when they were building their economy.
So how can like besides Abdul, not taking naps anymore.
Yeah.
How can like a country like Nigeria come to the same, not even the same level, but similar level as Japan, or even better than Japan?
It's just in like Africa, or we as Africans have to come together. We have to collect within people that have the similar intentions. Because 12 of us, 10 of us can start a movement.
Yeah.
And it's not a violent movement, it's just a knowledgeable movement. Something that, just look at the power of the media these days.
Yeah, internet is changing everything.
Do you understand? One person can stay somewhere and affect 10 million people, 20 million people.
Just the power of connectivity.
One of my life goals is to directly impact 1,000 people. That's not too much, but do you know what? If 1,000 people are directly impacted and can carry the zealousness of the purpose, of the vision, I mean, anywhere can change.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus Christ, that even atheists know him, is
you say haters know him.
Everyone knows him.
Like
It's bare haters.
atheist or atheist?
Haters.
Atheist, yeah.
Whatever.
The haters as well.
Everybody knows him. Like he only had 12 guys. His panel was made up of 12 guys.
Technically 11, because one of them, stabbed him in the back.
Yeah.
But
It's still true.
That's why I ain't having over 11 friends.
No new friends, man.
and
so cool.
and
Keep it tight.
even within that, he had another 4.
His family and stuff.
Not family. He had the inner caucus, Peter, James, and John. And then he had another one, John, who was his closest friend. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, he kept it a very narrow friendship circle. He kept a very narrow friendship, unit. But these people have taken the same mission and the same word, and they've affected the entire world. That's all it takes.
3 billion people, right?
4 people.
3 to 4 billion people and growing strong every day.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
But
yeah,
we're not talking about history though. I mean, do you think it was the words of Jesus Christ or the Roman Empire, more like most specifically the Byzantine Empire, that spread Christianity?
That spread Christianity.
It's the power in the word.
On that note, we're quick.
It's just if you read why is
I think it's
why is Think and Grow Rich so popular?
I think it was the first ever really self-development kind of book out there.
Why is Robert Kiyosaki's book so popular? What's his name again? Rich Dad and Poor Dad.
Robert Greene.
Oh yeah.
I've got that.
Why
I've got that book. I love that book.
Why is it popular?
Because it teaches people.
Exactly. It's the words. The words carry power.
Yeah.
The words carry power. So words go a long way.
The strength in words, in the beginning was the word.
Yeah.
And the word was God.
It was with God.
Was
and
with
the
God.
word was
Sorry,
God.
yeah.
Whatever, man. Stop quoting Bible verses. To the atheists, the haters.
How did someone record that if the beginning was the word? Who's there writing down the beginning of the word?
You just asked 2 questions.
2 questions that are attracting way more questions as well.
That's the whole theological.
But yeah, so usually on the podcast we have people tell us what impact we want to have on the world, and I feel like we've already covered most of that.
You have a book.
You have a book, and for you people listening, it's called African Future Leaders. In case you missed the title, we're gonna put it in the description
Where you can buy it.
So we have a few minutes left. So just in a few sentences, what would you say the impact you want to have?
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I always say my mission in life is to provide independence to people's barriers.
Okay.
Through the impartation of knowledge, by imparting knowledge in the areas of leadership, purpose, and business. And then I do this through music, writing books, and also speaking in seminars and like podcasts like this one, like the mindscreed.
Mindscreed. It was good having you on as well. And I was really excited for this as well. And
yeah, it's been a good podcast.
Yeah,
definitely.
Very informative. Very eye-opening. We learned a lot. I learned a lot. I learned that I need to know more about my country.
Don't take naps.
I should not take naps at work because my boss is here.
Okay. So that's it for this episode. Thanks for coming on, bruv.
Thank you.
Thank you, boss. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, boss.
Thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe and share, yo.
Yeah, down in the description
And
below.
also, you can follow me. You can follow me on the Light Waves on any media, Instagram, YouTube, the Light Waves, or you can find me Mobu Eberendu. It's quite easy.
He's
We'll put
everywhere.
everything in the description.
Yeah, that's cool.
And commenting below, tell us if you have a solution for Africa, or if you have a solution that we don't take naps at work anymore. You know, maybe you do take naps at work and you want to be like, yeah, do this, don't do that.